Hello, my name's Colin Savage from the BBC Academy, and in my time at the BBC, I've produced, directed, series produced or exec produced over 500 short films. So I'm hoping in the next 15 minutes or so, I can give you some really good hints and tips that will help you bring a story to life. Before we start, spend some time watching the film we're going to talk about on YouTube. It's a short film from The Culture Show with Mark Kermode meeting Bill Forsyth, and it's about 8 minutes long. And that's the film we're going to talk about. So have a look at that first, then come back here and we'll go through it together.
Well, you know, one of my favourite movies of all time is Local Hero, the Bill Forsyth movie, which I absolutely love. I've seen it hundreds of times. And I had this idea to take Bill Forsyth, the director of it, back to Pennon, where it was first filmed. And it's the 25th anniversary of the movie, and I love the score, and I love everything about the film. And finally, Bill Forsyth agreed to go and do it. And I thought that we were going to be reuniting the film's director, Bill Forsyth, with the village where he shot the movie. It turned out we were reuniting Bill with the film itself.
The first thing to think about: what is the question I would like to answer in my film? Here, Mark Kermode has set up the question, how will Bill and the film be reunited? The expectation is that by the end of the film, we will know the answer. Here, there's a cue from the television studio setting up the film. But how are you going to cue up your film on your website? This is a beautiful wide shot, but it's more than that. We call this a geography shot because it places us immediately in Scotland on the beach in a quaint little village. The power of pictures is that they can deliver feelings, memories, smells within milliseconds. My next point is sound and how important it is. The seagulls tell us so much more about the smell of the place without us even knowing. Always remember to shoot with sound. There's no such thing as a mute shot, and you won't be able to replace it in the edit.
This is Pennon, the birthplace of Local Hero, which was filmed here 25 years ago. It's one of my favourite films of all time. I must have seen it 100 times.
So here's Mark Kermode. And one of the things I'd like to ask you is, what is the role of the reporter? Often we get bland reporters who don't add anything to the story. So be really clear what role your reporter is taking on. Is he detective on a trail? Or is she an enthusiastic fan finding out more about a hero?
It's written and directed by Bill Forsyth, who is famously camera shy. But he's agreed to come here and meet me to talk about the film right here in Pennon, which has barely changed since Local Hero was shot here almost a quarter of a century ago.
He's agreed to come and meet me right here. Now we get to real television. Television happens in front of your eyes. The camera should be there when the exam result envelope is opened or when the baby is born. So here we are with Mark Kermode as Bill Forsyth goes back for the first time. And we're going to see it all.
This is just so strange. For like 25 years, I've dreamed of coming to this village, but now...
Look at the beautifully framed shots of the village, with smoke coming out of the chimney. I'm going to say that word again, planning, or being selective, because making films is about making choices. Not filming everything, being really choosy about what you shoot and how.
Actually being here in Pennon, it's like being in Local Hero, but in 3D IMAX.
For me, the best thing about the piece to camera here with Mark is the crunching of his feet. I really feel I'm there with him. Many people ask if you should move the camera or have the presenter walk in a piece to camera to make it more interesting. The answer was given to us by Fred Astaire, who said, either the camera will dance or I will. A brilliantly simple guide to directing. Whenever you introduce a character in a film, it's always important to film a setup shot so you can script into them. But always think that each shot should add to your story. So here we see more of the beautiful beach, rather than some awful news setup of coming in or going out of a building.
Meeting him here is a truly magical experience.
Drop into it, and then the kind of magic takes over.
And while I'm on the subject, backgrounds are incredibly important. So always think once, think background, to check that it adds a layer to your story and doesn't detract. And that's not just plants growing out of people's heads, it's sounds or distracting action which takes your eye away from the subject. As we noted with Fred Astaire, the eye loves movement, and if something moves in the background, your eye will follow it. The shot of the sea is really important because of the sound. Remember to film and record actuality sound breaks for your films. Because without sound edits, doors closing, waves lapping, the film will become very blocky. Commentary, then interview, then commentary, then interview. Your eyes and ears need a break.
Oh yeah, do you want to do the clap for sync?
Okay. First time in a long time. Double camera clap.
I can go home now.
Why is Bill Forsyth great? Because he's a great character. He's really excited to be there, he's charming, he's human. Television is most about characters. You would be better getting one good character on screen than 3 dull. So think before you shoot, is the head of archive really the best person to have on screen, even though she's the expert? Maybe the box office manager, a great character, might be more engaging and tell your story better. Now, I know it's going to be hard and difficult to tell the boss this, but really, it's worth it.
So, Bill, here you are, back in Penn, and you haven't been here in over 25 years,
Yeah,
right?
26 years. It was the spring of '82 that we shot here. We had to find a location for the village before the weekend, and this was Friday. It was about 2 o'clock. They more or less said, look, if you don't pick this place, then the schedule's out of whack.
You haven't been here in over 25 years. I call this an agif. The audience gets it first. To make exciting television that bowls along, you need the person at home to be playing along with the film. They should be thinking, I wonder why Bill is going to be reunited with the film. Hasn't been back for 25 years. You know what? He's probably not sat down and watched his own film in all that time. It's important that you tease the audience along by feeding in extra information or setting up new questions in their heads, so they're constantly thinking ahead of where you are.
There was no way that I could say no, basically. So, unfortunately, it was magic and it worked.
Bill's answer is great because he's telling us a secret. We should always feel like we're learning little gems along the way which form into a brilliant string of pearls. Secrets, secrets, secrets. It's what it's all about. So, the telephone box. You can't make a film about Local Hero without the telephone box, and it's the perfect example of the one picture that sums up a story. What's the one picture that sums up your story before you start filming? Make sure you get it. The best one picture I've ever seen was in a film about women being accepted into an all-male gentlemen's club. They shot some lipstick on the edge of a pint glass. Brilliant.
Here is the now famous phone box, which in the film he calls from a phone box.
Wow.
But the thing that's obvious about this telephone box is
It's in the wrong place.
it's in the wrong place.
Yeah, no.
Explain to me why it's in the wrong place.
Well, obviously we wanted more of a prominence, so we stuck a fake phone box, a plywood phone box on the end of the far corner here.
Another secret. It's in the wrong place. I really feel I'm finding out stuff as it happens. Now, we all know that this can look really hammy if the reporter tries to look surprised on the 5th take. So, why not play a trick on them? Why not set up some stuff that they don't know about, or keep a story from them, so they can be genuinely surprised when you roll the camera?
And here is where the phone box isn't.
That's where the plywood phone box was, yeah.
Just stand with me where it was.
Right.
Just. There we go.
Here we go.
So I'm in the Local Hero phone box with Bill Forsyth.
And of course, standing where the phone box was is the ultimate fan thing to do. So that's the role. What can they do that will be the ultimate buzz for a fan? Again, it's seeing things happen in front of the lens, doing stuff, rather than just talking about it.
There's a key scene which takes place at this very bar. It's a really moving scene. Is that how you felt about the life that you portrayed in the village of Local Hero?
I think it was something in the air in the 80s. I think people were losing it slightly because it was a kind of decade of excessive, acquisition, all of that stuff. It was saying something which was important.
I think it's, despite the fact that it's a comedy, it's absolutely on the edge of, sadness and heartbreak for almost its entire running time.
Wish I could do that again.
The questions in the bar really move the story on, because for the first time again, Bill reveals something. So we come out feeling like he's discovered something new about the film too. Wish I could do that again. This is a good example of either when picture leads sound or sound leads picture. Here the sound is bled over the pictures until we find Mark Commode for the piece to camera. We call this a split edit, and it's a brilliant way to drive a film along.
I'll try.
Local Hero may have put Pennon on the movie map, but last year it hit the headlines again when a mudslide came down off those rocks.
As you can see, the day is getting longer, and that means the producer of the film has planned her pieces to camera way before they got to the island, knowing what she needed, when and where.
And pretty much destroyed the village hall behind me.
The shots inside the village hall must be archived, so always remember to ask, do you have pictures of that? Are there photos of that? Because we always want to see what we're talking about, and you'll be surprised what little gems people have stored away.
And tonight, it's going to be reopened. So we've decided to celebrate by laying on something very special for the locals and for Bill Forsyth.
Again, the piece to camera teases the very special for Bill Forsyth. Again, its audience plays along. Have you got it yet?
And what better way to celebrate Bill's return and help the village reopen the hall than an anniversary screening of the movie that made them both world famous? There's a bit of a risk involved in all this because we've got seats for about 50 people. Only 6 people actually live in the village. It's slightly wonky. Everything's set for a great night. All we need now is an audience.
DIY sections always work on camera because they're the ultimate before and after, the stuff that morning television thrives on. Also, it's an easy way to add the famous television word jeopardy to your story. We have to wait to see what happens.
Great to see so many of you here. Take a seat wherever you want. Any seat you can find. We're going to have more people here than we have seats. We had a packed house, but there was one seat reserved for our very special guest. When was the last time you actually watched Local Hero?
I think about 23, 24 years ago, I plucked up the courage to put it in the video machine at home, and then I didn't really get to the end of it for some reason.
You know that I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made, but how do you feel about it?
If I'm going to watch it anywhere, it's going to be here. So I'll promise that I'll sit through it this time. I really will.
When Mark asks, when was the last time you actually watched Local Hero, we find out that Bill hasn't. Now I want to know how he feels when he watches it again. And the clever thing about this is that we learn something completely different. We learn what a humble man Bill Forsyth is. Quite moving.
Ladies and gentlemen, Local Hero, please give us a round of applause for Bill Forsyth. Bill, come up, come on. Come and take a bow.
When Mark and I were talking earlier, and I told him that I hadn't had the guts to watch this film in 23 years. It's been a major move for me even to sit through it, and I couldn't have asked to have it happen in a nicer way.
Once again, thanks ever so much to Bill Forsyth.
Thanks everybody here. Thank you.
So, by the end of the film, our question is answered. And yet, we've learnt something we didn't expect at all. How nervous and humble a film director can be. Each short film should have an insight. So what insight can we gain from the film that you're making that could change us forever?
I think every movie should have a 25th anniversary.
The fireworks shot here is great because it brings the story to a close. Again, bringing the reporter back into fan mode, and for Bill, celebration mode. I'd have probably gone out here. Always remember, short films should have a great start and a really good end. I think they've added on the bagpipe sequence, so they've got something to talk about when they get back to the studio.
It's been a magical Local Hero night here in Pennon. There's one last thing that I promised myself I would do if I ever got here. Cometh the hour, cometh the man.
Okay, so there we are. Short filmmaking. I hope this has given you some insight, tips and help into making and telling a better story.